Monitoring live in real time the Senate confirmation hearing of Pete Hegseth. Again, another person who President Trump picked that we weren't sure, just based on some of the backlash that came, whether he would make it to this day. Earlier in the hearing, it of course got halted this morning as protesters decided to make their voice heard. And these were kind of extreme left-wing protests.
That's right. Multiple times during Pete Hegseth's opening statement. So as he's delivering his remarks to the Senate before that committee starts questioning, multiple protesters, as they do, they get ready and one goes, and as soon as they clear the room of that one, they wait 30 seconds more and another goes, and then so forth. They were able to get them out very quickly. But let's go ahead and see some of this footage to see as they're carrying protesters out. One specifically carrying out sideways by the Capitol Hill police there, trying to make sure that they can continue the business of the Senate, the advice and consent role that is enumerated in our Constitution. But yet protesters got up there. They said, "Stop Christian Jihad" were some of the signs that were held. Also talking about Pete Hegseth in terms of Gaza.
Yeah, pro-Israel being a Zionist.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot that was going on there. It was a messy start to the confirmation hearings. There was technically one this morning that already started as well, but that one's not as focused on by the media. This one obviously very headline grabbing because it has been one of the most contentious nominees that President Trump put forward. But Doug Collins appeared before the Veterans Affairs Committee this morning to lead the VA. But Pete Hegseth today, and then when we get back, we'll also talk about some of the ones coming up because there's a lot, especially tomorrow. Will be a jam-packed day of confirmation hearings that'll be wall-to-wall on TV networks.
These hearings are interesting because there's a lot of fluff questions, and then there's a lot of dodgy answers. That's going to be true for everyone who goes up. It's sort of just the nature of the beast. So you're not going to learn all that much other than how they do under pressure. Take away any of his credentials as someone who should be qualified or is qualified for this position. Saw Pete Hegseth about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, maybe closer to 2 years at this point, do a live Fox News event here in Nashville. And I went and I told even our friends at Fox News, and I said he was probably one of the best communicators, best real-time hosts I had seen. Almost, like I said at the moment, almost like a Ryan Seacrest level of being able to continue on to be improv and flow perfectly. And I was very impressed with him. So from someone who can communicate with the American people, I thought Pete did an incredible job. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking of him as being in this position. I was thinking of him more of being oh man, he's clearly going to be the next mainstay on Fox News. He's going to be the one that's going to get one of those big shows, those evening shows, or maybe he's going to go on beyond that. Because I was just very impressed with him as a communicator. Right. I thought he was a great communicator of interesting information. He could break it down to where people can understand it. And we kind of need somebody like that in that role. It doesn't only have to be someone who is obviously very qualified for the position, but also someone who can communicate to the American people as he has been doing now for a number of years.
That's right. And when you watch this hearing this morning, what you see is that on display. He isn't easily shaken during those opening statements of his when there were multiple protests calling him a Christian Zionist, yelling about Gaza, calling him a misogynist. There were times that could rattle, and that's the goal of these protesters, to rattle the nominee.
It's also the goal of the people asking the questions.
Exactly.
If they're not friendly.
He's handled these. Even Tim Kaine, former running mate with Hillary Clinton, senator from Virginia, was pretty nasty in the way he phrased his question, asking about his personal life and trying to tie that to an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. And he didn't get rattled by it. Now, some critics may say, give a very political scripted TV answer, but he's very calm and poised through this. And I think that speaks volumes to also how he weathered the storm early on. He keeps his head up. He moves forward and he focuses on the mission, which is what you want out of a Secretary of Defense. And I think we should play this from his opening statement. This is Pete Hegseth talking about the mandate that he will have in the Department of Defense should he be confirmed by the Senate.
As I've said to many of you in private meetings, when President Trump chose me for this position, the primary charge he gave me was to bring the warrior culture back to the Department of Defense. He, like me, wants a Pentagon laser-focused on lethality, meritocracy, warfighting, accountability, and readiness.
There were protesters, broke out, people asking how'd they get in, all that. Well, they have their ways of getting in, and it's a public hearing. They go in organized, and they're protesting because they think that Pete not only is not qualified, I don't even know if they're actually even talking about his qualifications. They think he is someone who they'd consider a Christian Zionist, a Christian, what was the word they were using?
Christian Zionist, someone
Christian
said Christian jihadist on a sign that they were holding up.
So I want you guys to see this. Let's take a look at this once again.
Members of the security, $8 billion to Israel to slaughter children. That's the recruiting crisis.
Veterans are committing suicide and are homeless. My father, a veteran, committed suicide, and you're sending money to
Sit down. You're gonna sit down. I'm leaving, man. Bravo, take him. He's leaving.
He's going
now.
Well, get your hands off me. Thank you for figuratively and literally having my back.
You are a misogynist. Not only that, you are a Christian Zionist. And you support the war in Gaza by the Zionists.
I love that specifically it goes from you're a misogynist to the second one is also you're a Christian Zionist. How dare you? It's like those are one in the same. We do have a comment, though, specifically about that sort of claim of Christian Zionism. It came in. Senator Cotton asked specifically about this because he said, hey, I heard some of the protesters. I've heard what people are talking about.
The protesters were, having an influence on the content of the hearing.
They inspired. Right. So maybe we should take a listen. This is just moments ago in the hearing.
The first one accused you of being a Christian Zionist. I'm not really sure why that is a bad thing. I'm a Christian. I'm a Zionist. Zionism is that the Jewish people deserve a homeland in the ancient Holy Land where they've lived since the dawn of history. Do you consider yourself a Christian Zionist?
Senator, I'm a Christian, and I robustly support the state of Israel and its existential defense, and the way America comes alongside them is their great ally.
Thank you. Because another protester, and I think this one was a member of Code Pink, which, by the way, is a Chinese Communist front group these days, said that you support Israel's war in Gaza. I support Israel's existential war in Gaza. I assume, like me and President Trump, you support that war as well, don't you?
Senator, I do. I support Israel destroying and killing every last member of Hamas.
So pretty strong statement coming out of Pete Hegseth. Again, clearly getting questions from someone like from Tom Cotton. You're going to have maybe a bit more, I don't want to say softballs, but these are questions that someone you agree with. And in this moment saying, yeah, of course, he did not use the word Zionist himself. Hegseth did not use that word. I'm sure there's probably some reasons behind that, but definitely said, I'm a Christian. I'm someone who supports the state of Israel and supports Israel destroying and killing every last member of Hamas.